another beautiful day with a little breeze coming out of the north. It's just fantastic for early summer. It's just amazing. You might be able to see the thermometer there reading about 85 degrees or so with this breeze. Missouri doesn't get temperatures like this in the summertime. This is great. No humidity, or at least it doesn't feel like there's any humidity. I'm not sweating. Can't beat it. So yesterday I was telling you that our store, the farm store, was running really low on chicken food. Didn't have the varieties that we really wanted. Didn't have non-medicated chick food, chick starter, and it didn't have all flock. Carolyn had to mix meat bird with some all stock, all the farm animal food. So we got it okay, and chickens seem to enjoy it. And we're just feeding the chicks. We're not feeding the egg birds. The egg birds, we're a little bit more picky with what we feed them. We're going to make sure that they get a good diet because they're producing those eggs. The only ones that we're really worried about with what we're feeding them now is the Brahmas, because they will be egg birds. But right now we're just trying to get them to grow. So they should be okay. We also went and bought some barrels. I told you this yesterday. We bought some barrels because we had a bag of 22%, which is pretty pricey actually, and it molded. It had been sitting in the camper, and when we opened it, it was moldy. This is interesting. I didn't know this until Carolyn looked it up. Molded chick food can harm a chicken. It's pretty dangerous to them, and it doesn't take a lot, so you really got to be careful that if it goes moldy, just get rid of it. It's unfortunate because it's like $14 a bag. So we bought these barrels. Got two barrels, one that we'll just use that has open bags in it, and then this one has all the sealed bags. I tightened this one up tighter. This one's pretty loose because all I got is a crescent wrench right now. So I need to get a socket with a new ratchet so I can open that up a little bit quicker when I'm feeding them. And then I can tighten it up a little better so the water and humidity stays out. I think that's what's happening, is the humidity is getting into it. Now we had a bag, it was mostly empty, and the mice got into it. And that's not a big deal to me. I mean, it's nasty, but the chickens don't care. Those barrels will keep the mice and the humidity out. I'm gonna sit down in the shade because that sun on my black selfie stick, the gyro battery operated deal, tends to overheat it. I think we're doing really good. I think we're pretty squared away. We got all the solar panels working. You know, I figured out a maintenance program for that. I told you a while back we had about once a year the wires just corrode for whatever reason, and everybody comes up with different ideas and silicones and grease and just all kinds of stuff. Nothing seems to work. So I've just decided I'm going to maintenance them every year. Right after the spring rains, I'll maintenance them, because I think that's what's happening, is there's so much humidity in the environment that it just corrodes. It actually goes inside the plastic. Get that into a maintenance program, and I think it's just what you're gonna do is just do maintenance. I know Dad lives down in Florida, and he was a manager at a RV park, and all his electrical connections, AC electrical connections, would corrode just being down there by the saltwater. I mean, he was literally on the beach, so on the Gulf. I was telling you yesterday, maybe the day before yesterday, I guess it was the day before yesterday, that I was told that I would not survive a SHTF situation, because if the chickens died, then we wouldn't have anything to live off of. The preppers have a better plan. So I went through all the explanation of why I think we have the better plan. And I was explaining to you that we have 300 days worth of canned food. We got 15 chicks in there that we were raising right now to be butchered, and we'll can them. Somebody said you shouldn't can them. You should just let them live, and then when you want the chicken, you could just butcher it then. Well, then you're wasting food, because you have to feed a chicken until it gets to a certain weight, and then it just stops growing. After that, they're just wasting food unless they're laying eggs. But we don't want any more eggs. I mean, we get plenty of eggs, and so we try to balance everything, so we're not just wasting food. We get plenty of eggs, so we don't have to stockpile them and water glass them. We get enough to feed us every day. The Brahmas will help us get more eggs through the winter, because they lay eggs in the winter. Now we got eggs all year round, And eggs can provide us, the eggs that we get can provide us with enough food all day long. We can have lunch and supper with that. We don't eat breakfast too often. Well, actually, we kind of have a brunch is what it is. If our chickens were to die, all of them just die, then we have the 300 days worth of canned food. We could start hatching the eggs that we have in the refrigerator right now. As long as they don't get below 32 degrees, if they're newer than 7 days, if they're not any older than 7 days old, you can incubate them. The canned food I was telling you would be our backup plan. So the primary plan is the chickens. It gives us all the food we need. What I was trying to compare is the preppers have their primary plan as their stockpile. So when their stockpile runs out, they're done, it's over with. Where I think I could go on indefinitely. No matter what the situation is, I think we could just continue to go. We've been living this way. Well, we've been living on the property for 2 years, but we've been living off just chicken food pretty much, eggs and chicken meat, for a year. And I feel like that we're pretty self-sustaining. Now, I did talk about the generator. We do run the generator to run the well pump, but we don't have to. We can run it off solar panels. It would be a lot easier if I didn't have to have the refrigerator on. Well, if something SHTF situation arrived, I would just shut off the fridge because we don't have to buy any groceries anyways. Eggs can stay out of the fridge for 3 weeks as long as you don't wash them. So the fridge would go off. That would give us plenty of electricity to run the well as much as we needed. So somebody said, well, I don't believe you could do it. Still arguing that the prepper scenario is better. This person said, I want you to test your theory that you could live without going to the grocery store or leaving the property without any gas for a year. Well, first of all, I never said I wouldn't leave the property. I mean, I guess I could. They also said this will help you grow your channel because people will be really interested if you could do it. Well, yeah, I guess it would help grow the channel also. The problem with this idea is, let's say we get 6 months into our test run and we're eating the chickens and the chickens die. Just like everybody predicts they're gonna die, so the plan isn't gonna work, so they die. Then we start eating our stockpile. So we gotta hatch new eggs. It's gonna take us a few months to get all that going. And now we have 6 months worth of stockpile left. And then something does happen while we're in the middle of this test run. Well, we've just depleted all our food because we're doing a test run. Now, what I don't understand is why I have to do the test run considering I am living pretty much self-sustaining. I would say 80% of our life is self-sustaining. When preppers never test themselves. That was the whole point of that video, is they don't test themselves. They don't see if their stockpiles are gonna work. It's interesting that what I'm doing is not believable, can't be done. But what preppers are doing is believable even though they've not tested any of it. And here's a perfect scenario. We keep a stockpile of chicken food. I thought leaving it in the camper, although I knew there would be mice problem, I didn't think it would mold. Why would it mold? Well, we have one bag of 22% that I didn't use for a long time. Well, we started running low on food and I thought, well, I'll open that 22% and I can go to town and get some more food. They can eat the 22% for a couple days and it won't hurt them. Well, when I opened it, it was moldy. So the plan I had in place didn't work. Had to come up with a new plan. So this is what I'm saying is every day I'm testing myself, and when I find a failure in my system, I can fix it because I know it exists. Whereas with a prepper, when they don't test themselves and they think, okay, I got all this stockpile of food, and they go down into the basement, they open it up, there's mice in it, it's moldy, they can't eat it, so it's all gone. It's bad. It's their primary way to survive failed. Whereas now I have a primary, which is raising the chickens, getting the eggs, butchering, incubating. That's my primary. But if that fails, I still have the backup system of I've still got stored food. Carolyn was kind of upset by this commenter saying that we needed to test ourselves for a year before we would even be believed, considering how much we do now. I've seen one prepper, I mean, and I don't criticize weight, that's not the point. If things were to go bad, you're gonna have to be in pretty good shape to take care of yourself. Going through the woods, you know, one of the big things is, well, we'll go hunting, even though I said I don't think that's a good idea. We'll go hunting. you're not even going to be able to get into the woods. You'll be so out of shape. Whereas Carolyn and I are always having to do something every day to keep in fairly good shape. The other thing I see, and this is just personal preference, is people are stockpiling carbohydrates. Rice, corn, wheat. That's just sugar. You're not getting any real nutrition out of that. It's just sugar. Well, you're going to need the energy. Well, I think my way of living is much better. I'm healthier by eating a carnivorous diet, by eating just chickens and eggs, meat products. I live a healthier diet. Now, I do have some rice up there. We've considered that if something goes wrong, we might have to dip into the rice. But I think the better situation would be cook the rice, give it to the chickens, let them eat it. We'll continue to eat the eggs. Of course, you can't give chickens raw rice because it would swell up in their gullet and they would choke to death on it. So you cook it, give it to them, they get enough sugar out of it. Then you give them an egg or some sunflower seeds for protein, and they got a complete diet. So healthy for us, healthy for them. Now, I know a lot of people don't believe that carbohydrates are bad for you, so that's just something that you're going to have to find out for yourself. But I don't think living off carbohydrates completely in a SHTF situation is the way to go. I really think that's a bad idea. And again, I'm living the life. I am doing it. I'm eating the meat. I've gotten off the carbohydrates and I see the difference. Like I've said many times, I used to eat peanut butter sandwiches 3 or 4 times a day for lunch. And my shoulders hurt. I had really bad breathing problems because I had inflammation in the trachea, I think it's called. And I could hardly breathe. Well, since I went on the meat diet, the inflammation goes away. Carbohydrates inflames things. Your joints, gives you arthritis, and all kinds of crazy stuff. So if you'll click that super thanks button down there, I really appreciate it. So if I can inspire you to get in shape so you can live your dreams. Thanks for watching.